Sections 7 through 10. Divinity is not in space. Section 7. Given the divine omnipresence, presence with everyone in the world, with every angel in heaven, and with every spirit under heaven, there is no way a merely physical image can compass the thought that divinity, or God, is not in space. Only a spiritual image will suffice. Physical images are inadequate because they involve space. They are put together out of earthly things, and there is something spatial about absolutely every earthly thing we see with our eyes. Everything that is large or small here involves space. Everything that is long or wide or high here involves space. In a word, every measurement, every shape, every form here involves space. This is why I said that a merely physical image cannot compass the fact that divinity is not in space, when the claim is made that it is everywhere. Still, we can grasp this with our earthly thinking if only we let in a little spiritual light. This requires that I first say something about spiritual concepts and the spiritual thinking that arises from them. Spiritual concepts have nothing to do with space. They have to do solely with state, state being an attribute of love, life, wisdom, desires, and the delights they provide. In general, an attribute of what is good and true. A truly spiritual concept of these realities has nothing in common with space. It is higher and looks down on spatial concepts the way heaven looks down on earth. However, since angels and spirits see with their eyes the way we do on earth, and since objects can be seen only in space, there does seem to be space in the spiritual world where angels and spirits are. Space like ours on earth. Still, it is not space, but an appearance of space. It is not fixed and invariant like ours. It can be lengthened and shortened, changed and altered, and since it cannot be defined by measurement, we here cannot grasp it with an earthly concept, but only with a spiritual one. Spiritual concepts are no different when they apply to spatial distances than when they apply to distances of what is good and distances of what is true, which are agreements and likenesses as to state. Section 8. It stands to reason, then, that with merely earthly concepts we cannot grasp the fact that divinity is everywhere and still not in space, and that angels and spirits understand this quite clearly. This means that we too could understand if we would only let a little spiritual light into our thinking. The reason we can understand is that it is not our bodies that think, but our spirits. So it is not our physical side, but our spiritual side. Section 9. The reason so many people do not grasp this is that they love what is earthly, and are therefore reluctant to lift their thinking above it into spiritual light. People who are reluctant can think only spatially, even about God, and thinking spatially about God is thinking about the extended size of nature. This premise is necessary because without a knowledge and some sense that divinity is not in space, we cannot understand anything about the divine life that is love and wisdom, which are our present topic. This means that there can be little, if any, understanding of divine providence, omnipresence, omniscience, omnipotence, infinity, and eternity, which are to be dealt with in sequence. Section 10. I have stated that in the spiritual world, just as in this physical world, we can see space and therefore distances as well, but that they are appearances, dependent on spiritual likenesses of love and wisdom, or of what is good and true. This is why, even though the Lord is with angels everywhere in heaven, he still appears high overhead, looking like a sun. Further, since it is the acceptance of love and wisdom that causes likeness to him, if angels have a closer resemblance because of their acceptance, their heavens appear to be closer to the Lord than those of the angels whose resemblance is more remote. This is also why the heavens, there are 3 of them, are marked off from each other, as are the communities of each heaven. It is also why the hells underneath them are farther away in proportion to their rejection of love and wisdom. It is the same for us. The Lord is present in us and with us throughout the whole world, and the reason for this is simply that the Lord is not in space.